Are we enemies of our own demise through self-sabotage, whether consciously or subconsciously? This behavior can be likened to self-destructive actions or decisions that people make that ultimately lead to them. People often make choices, whether it is out of fear, ignorance, or habit. It is as if they are fighting against themselves, becoming their own worst enemies. But before welcoming our guest, who is going to be a frequent feature in this podcast, we wish to extend our gratitude for your continued support. Please share. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please click. Please like. Please comment, because we value your input. Our guest for today is Bongile Mkumbeni, a therapeutic coach who's passionate in assisting individuals to move away from self-destructive behavior to realize their fullest potential. Let's talk to him and hear what he has to say.
Yes, madam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Indeed, I'm blessed to be here.
I am excited as well.
Yeah.
I think this comes against the backdrop of a lot of things that are happening in this country.
Indeed.
And one of it being self-destructive behaviors. And it's one topic that perhaps maybe we don't really talk about and society shuns away from. But I wanted us to sort of unpack so that people can understand when we're talking about self-destructive behaviors what we're talking about.
Yes.
I think, one, can we start with substance abuse? Alcohol, drugs is one form of destructing yourself, self-destructing yourself. So I wanted to actually, perhaps maybe let's unpack that a bit. There are other elements that we're going to be touching on. But I wanted us to start with this. What is your view with regards to self-destructive behavior?
Yeah, it's for me, the most important thing is to understand the root cause. Why do people do that? What's the payoff? The payoff of not just the behavior, the running to use substance. A lot of people that are self-destructing, a lot of times you find that there is an underlying reason. A lot of underlying reasons, you find that if someone is not satisfied in their lives, in relationships, you find that people that are married or that are in relationships that are not satisfied, are unable to express themselves in their relationship. They self-destruct because they don't get to have expression in their relationships. Little kids that don't have safe spaces to engage authentically, openly, and honestly in their homes. They also self-destruct, and they find themselves abusing alcohol and drugs and all that. Kids, in our society, we have a lot of fatherless homes. These fatherless homes, a lot of boys, a lot of girls don't know how to express, or they are not allowed to express themselves honestly to their parents. I mean, I've had stories in some of the circles that I'm running that mothers don't want daughters and sons to talk about their fathers or to express the idea of loving their fathers. What happens is that in that case, they hide it, they suppress it, they deny it, and they self-destruct. There are many examples that we can think about in the whole world. I mean, as you know, that I work with different, we create circles for different types of people. We have circles for men, we have circles for women, for young people, for entrepreneurs. When you hide it, when you suppress it, regardless of who you are by name, you will self-destruct. Some people are self-destructing through work.
Sure.
That they abuse the extent to which they exert themselves in their crafts, that you become this accountant, this artist that is constantly deep in the craft. So it's not always, as we say, it's alcohol, it's drugs. What's your vice? What is it that you use to self-destruct? But I guess here we're looking at substance. We can look at substance.
Yes. I think that was our point of departure with regards to the conversation.
Yeah.
You spoke about the issue that upbringing sometimes, or the family environment, or the environment that you find yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes really leads you to perhaps maybe embark on this route. Is it sometimes does it happen consciously, or sometimes it is subconsciously that you find people entering into another trajectory that perhaps maybe they did not even anticipate? Perhaps 2 years back a person was all right, 2 years after, then a person is deep into substance abuse, is deep into alcohol.
It's basically, it happens unconsciously, but with a conscious thought to know what you get from the substance.
Okay.
An unconscious behavior is that it will start from the messages that you'll be, and the beliefs that you'll be receiving from some of the activities that are happening in your life. Let's say your business, it makes you feel unworthy. It makes you feel not good enough because it's not performing well. And maybe from your childhood you have a message that you might have received from childhood that you're not good enough, you're not unworthy, you are unworthy, or that you are not good enough, and then the situation in your business makes you feel like that you are not performing well. You'll go into that dark hole unconsciously, that you might find yourself using substance, you might find yourself overworking yourself, which is also destructive, because if you're constantly in your craft, what happens to you? What happens to your health? What happens to your mental health? What happens to you as a person? You are self-destructing. Yes, maybe it's a bit softer because the nature of what you'll be doing is related to your work, but it's self-destructive because of the message that you are not doing well, therefore you overwork yourself, so a lot of it is linked to childhood wounds, to the collective trauma that we have as a people, because we started our conversation, it has to do a lot with where we are as a people. Why do we do things that we do as a people? Why is it that you find South Africans, we haven't really transitioned, to date? Why do we have gender-based violence, so much gender-based violence? Why do kids use drugs? Why do even adults use drugs? Why is it that in our communities, there are so many taverns and what they call them shabeens and mini shabeens everywhere you go, in our communities. What are they doing? Are they some kind of medicine that people go to for that inability to talk?
I wanted to actually ask you, is that some form of escapism from Bongi, go rough.
Hectic.
Go rough.
Oh.
And let's be honest.
Yeah.
Impilo has presented its own challenges, and everybody namalanga uyagoa in their own way.
Yeah.
And perhaps maybe, doesn't it start from you wanting to escape a little bit?
Yes, it is. It has elements of escaping. For you to find yourself self-destructive, but it's also a little bit deeper than that. As I do a lot of shadow work, work around the wounds, a lot of us want different. You want to sort of progress and progression for us is achievement of having a lot of money and doing well, and then we run into this risk of wanting to look like the opposite of how we looked before.
Sure.
Which needs to be financed a lot of times. And a lot of us, we do that at our own detriment. That we spend the money that we don't have. It's also self-destructive. And we say alcohol. People buy expensive alcohol, not just alcohol. It's self-destructive because it destructs your body, destroy your body, but also destroy your finances, So I'm talking at the level of people that can afford, right, of a different class, But I know that there's a lot of focus to a lower class of our society to say, hey, people drink a lot in the township. But if you look at it, it's not any different. There's destruction in many levels attributed by the past that we have as a people, unhealed wounds that we have as a people, because we don't have expression where we can speak our truth, then we self-destruct. Our households, if you look at most black families, it's a taboo to speak about certain issues. Friends, it's no longer safe. But we come from a history as a people that we had uncles, aunts, in villages where we could just have an easy conversation. Now we come up with these good names like coaches, therapeutic, what,
Yes, label.
So, and really, we had our brother and our brother's brother.
Who you could really reach out to
engage.
and open up and be able to have a safe space.
Yes.
I like that part because I think when you're talking about safe spaces, in this time, it is very difficult for you to find a safe space because I think automatically you're thinking that usindu uzongijaja.
Yeah, remember you're moving out of our zones. A village was safe because the nature of the village, you've been in the village for a long time and you know each other there. It is safe. And we didn't move out of our villages for a long time. Now you come to Joburg. Everyone is coming to Joburg. It cannot be your village because in your village, that's where your umbilical cord in our African culture gets buried. That's where you form, And you cannot compare it to the city. Everyone that comes here in the city is unsafe. Now we don't have those safe spaces, which is why I think our mission as Thousand Circles is really to create the safety in the cities and places where it's no longer we no longer have that that village vibe. In other words, create a village in the city type thing, you know, and that it's safer and where people can talk so they don't resort in these self-destructive ways. Obviously, this topic is very broad, you know, because I know it may sound simple. There are other people. I mean, earlier on, outside of this conversation, we talked about celebrities. We talked about leaders.
Yes.
We talked about people that are respected in society.
Yes.
How are they self-destructing? How are they self-destructing? You know. So we need to look at that. And then why do they self-destruct? Why do they feel they need to overwork and hawk spaces, hawk leadership? If you talk about political things, why do I want to become a leader for my entire life? You know, why can't I just go back and relax? What's the payoff?
Yeah.
What's the payoff? You know, what's the payoff? Why do I want to become a leader of a political party for the entire for my whole life? What's the payoff? What is the wound? What is the shadow there? What is the shadow?
Let's talk about entering into a toxic relationship.
Yes.
We are often confronted, whether male or female, that you enter into a toxic relationship, it becomes an abusive relationship, or you are controlled in some way or form, and you decide that you move from that relationship, but you go directly straight to another one that is exactly like that.
Yeah.
And you are gravitating towards human beings, or you're gravitating towards people
Who are similar. Yeah.
What is it that actually makes people to actually gravitate towards that?
You see, the way that you are sitting right now, you'll always sit this way when you are on this podcast. That's the code that you are running on.
Okay.
If you were to sit across and sit like this, it will feel a little bit uncomfortable. Huh? Am I right?
No, you're right. Of course, yes.
It's what you know. And what you know, it's part of your program. And all of it happens because of our programming when we landed in this planet. That our nature got altered, that we need to behave in a certain way, but not consciously. Obviously, they don't sit here and teach you to say, hey, behave this way when I don't behave this way. So it becomes your way of life to say that this is what I've seen, and if it's anything that is opposed to this, it's not right. But if it's obviously it comes from your programming, that's why I don't want to call it wounding.
Sure.
So there are two voices. Some people will tell you that, no, I didn't have my father, so I'm going to be there for my kids. Another person say, no, I don't care about these kids, because that's what they have experienced in their life. So you choose both voices, right? And these people in relationships, they repeat the same mistake because of the nature of their program, whereby they decide whether they're going to be with an abusive person or they're going to be with a person that does not abuse them. But there's a middle ground. In the middle, that is where we call it access mundi is. You know, that's where your wisdom is. In biblical terms, they'll call it, that's where the Holy Spirit is. That is your center, where you make the decision from a different position, the position of life, where you see your wounded self and see how they are how that wounded part of yourself is messing your life. Otherwise, it repeats itself and repeats itself. So a lot of people will say it's like it's like witchcraft on you, but it's your coding. It's your coding. It's what you've seen at home. It's what raised you, and sometimes even if you say you want different, a lot of people will say, no, I want different, but they will find, if let's say your wound was abandonment as a child.
Sure.
Because of abandonment, you'll find that you want to be surrounded a lot of times by people, even if you have your person. Whether you are surrounded by friends, surrounded by friends, surrounded by boyfriends or girlfriends as a guy, but you are just surrounded. You are sabotaging yourself. One day you wake up, this person that you loved the most is not there. Your little girl just wants to be surrounded, because what happens if let's say I'm your boyfriend, what happens if Bongile is not there tomorrow? I must have James, I must have David, I must have so and so that's around there. Just a telephone call. Is it landing? The pen is dropping.
I think that example that you just gave is it's something that I don't really think of, by the way.
There.
You know, with regards to entering into certain relationships as such, and be able to say, okay, so I must have plan B's and plan C and plan D and E. You know?
And this repeats itself. So this guy will leave. And you're attracted to your wound, by the way, in relationships. You're attracted to someone that has similar coding or your type of wound. So if you have abandonment, you probably you'll also be attracted to someone that has some kind of an abandonment. So when you have a lot of people around you, they also feel abandoned. It's like,
Jeez.
They don't feel safe. So, but you're both not aware, because it's a part of you hide, you suppress.
So it's a vicious cycle.
So when I'm gonna leave you as my partner, and I'm gonna go to another person. When I get to another person, I still want to have a lot of people around me. It's like, now I have my friends, I have my work, I have everything that I feel makes me safe. It even shows in some people in hoarding that you find that you are hoarding a lot of clothes now, you're hoarding cars, you're hoarding money, so that you fill up the space. And so if you're with a person that has a similar wound, they start feeling unsafe.
So the fear of commitment as well is one form of destructive behavior, and because, you know, when you run away from commitment, there must be something that you are running away from.
Yeah, I don't know if you would say fear of commitment. Yes, it becomes sort of what is commitment? Maybe let's start there. Yeah, what is commitment? Because it's very subjective. My commitment can be that I'm with you as your partner, and then your commitment could be, let's go and sign.
So it's expectations.
It depends on the definition.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it depends on the commission, on the definition. But what I'm trying to to explain here is that it becomes, the destruction comes with the nature of the wound that you have, that you find that the same thing almost repeat itself many times in your life. Overall, the balo etsa qetho balo hlapisa noke ba o kenyeka metsi ba o peita ba ka ta o peita o khutlo ra expire we mruti a rapella o tshwara or ha mfundo selona ka sebenzi man yabona. So we need to look at that with people to see what is the root of this repetition in your life. This example for me is deep. I mean, this what you're talking about. There was this question to say, but why is it that some people have if you talk about business success,
Sure.
you have the Jewish community becoming very successful, the Indians. You don't have a lot of black people already being that successful. There were a small number of that. I think most of it for me is the kind of programming that we have. Whether you want to call it wounds or programming or coding, we're running on a wrong code. We're running on a wrong code if we want to succeed. We need to look deep and see what is abandonment doing to our journey as a people. We can look at individual cases. Why is it that we don't have lasting, especially our generation? Our generation, you don't get a lot of marriages that are taking place in our generation. Our generation, there are a lot of, our fathers were not there back there. Our fathers went to work in the mines, they left our mothers alone. What messages did we get as their kids? When other races, their fathers were there, they raised them. How has that impacted us as this generation? How has it impacted the girl child, who is not a girl child today, who is a mother, a sister today? How has it impacted us? How has it impacted the boy child, who is a father today?
So, will I be correct to perhaps maybe look at what we call generational curses that...
I don't like using these curses thing because when I say curse,
I wanted to...
we must pray. Generational curse. Oh, let's pray, drink water and oil. You know?
It's a term. You know, it is a term.
The power of words.
Yes, the power. I get what
Let's
you're
pray.
saying. Okay, so let's say so asitike.
Okay.
It is something that has become sort of inherent to someone. Where what are you saying? You're saying in terms of how you're coded. Where it's expected that you will behave in a certain way. Why is it then that some other people, an example, somebody that grew up in a very impoverished family, ends up being somebody that would have so much influence in being able to change, especially where they come from, and not wanting to really go back? And you find also that person giving back as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's true. You listen to two voices.
Sure.
Your wounding will say, I'm not good enough, so I'm going to work too hard for me to be good enough. I'm going to acquire everything that I never acquired. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to focus until I get everything. I mean, with some of my clients, I've got some of my clients who are professors, who are doing well in business, who come from impoverished backgrounds. And there's always a story that someone will say, you know, I used to suffer, you know, and you elevate. And I mean, this is story. If you go to a lot of guys that drink a lot will tell you that there's a guy that is doing well, he comes there and say, "Hey, didn't check out fella, So it comes from the wound. I'm doing so well now, I'm above you, I'm going to show you who I am. Then we have the opposite. The opposite is that another guy will come there and say, I've suffered so much in my life, right? And I'm going to give back, right? And again, another guy that is in the middle, that is aware to say, I'm not here to rescue the world. I will give the world when I can. Both people that are doing it, saving the world, and the other one that is saying Lidinja, they are both acting from the wound. The one in the middle that is aware of their position, they're acting from their position of wisdom.
So let's talk about financial irresponsibility.
Yeah.
You get somebody that becomes over indebted, You get somebody that overspends. And get to some of us teenagers, women, sometimes they tend to tenga. Sometimes for the sake of uktenga.
And men.
And men as well,
a
isn't
woman
it?
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
But obviously, you guys, maybe, I don't know. No comment. Yeah.
So that is another form of really being destructive, because that has got an impact in terms of your well-being as well, mentally.
Okay, I'm gonna spin this.
Spin it.
What's the payoff to you of spending most of your money on shoes and clothes? You said I must spin it.
So you're asking me what would be my payoff if I had to have beautiful shoes
payoff?
Look, I think to a certain extent it will be me feeling good about myself, right?
So in other words, you will not be feeling good. That's why there's something that is not good, so that you need to fill up with buying.
Not necessarily.
Okay. I'm just working
yeah,
with your
no.
words.
Work with me. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think if I would identify something and would like something, and I think something would make me feel good or make me look good, I would gravitate towards. Not that I've got a gap of not really being satisfied with who I am and how I look, or I'm unsatisfied with certain things. No.
But I think the fact, you see, I work with words, and I love words.
Yes.
The fact that you're saying good, are you saying that might mean that you were not good before you acquire these pieces? So I'm driving this because a lot of it collectively, right? We have that wound of not being good enough. Not just black people, even white people. But generally, I think as blacks, we have been oppressed for a long time. Even our parents, even we have also, even before maybe colonization, as a people, we come from monarchies or that colonized each other from the past, that get us in the Xhosas and Zulus, who's better and all that, you know. So even if you can look at our history, there's always that thing of I'm better than you, and that to feed this, it happens at an expense sometimes. Even the way that the world is crafted in schools, where people have to compete to say you must be better than so and so, you know, it feeds into the wound. But because we are victims of apartheid, most of us, you find that there's always that thing to say I must look better than so and so, I must dress better, I must drive better, I must stay in a particular suburb, and you are feeding this thing that you must be better, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but the sabotage comes from you've become better, but you spent the same money that you've earned, so you're going back. You find yourself back in your bedroom with all your dresses and shoes and all these gadgets, and is it not self-sabotage? It is, but it comes from the wound. But some wounds are personal. Yes, we're talking about collectively. As growing up, you might be coming from a background of a competitive household, where if you don't do well, your mother will always, you have to do well, or what you didn't sweep properly in the house. That you carry these messages into your life, and they manifest into your life in your spending patterns, where you spend all the money that you have, and you remain in the same position, you know, that you started from. So, and it goes back to say that you want this, But you basically remain in the same position that you've always been into because of your wound.
You know, you actually made me to actually think back
Mm-hmm.
when you said that, let me just twist this.
Yes.
Because as a child, perhaps that was bullied.
You were bullied.
Yes, yes, very much so. As
How-
a child,
how old were you?
I was at school.
How old were
You
you?
know, I'm sure from the age of 8.
Oof. Mm.
You know, as a child that went through that experience, where you even get to a point where, you know, we're looking sometimes masesia pambili abanye bethu, where you now started going to model schools at a later stage. You
Yeah.
would find that even your teachers at that time would speak the way they would want to. You know, at some form, when a teacher calls you black substance,
Mm.
it stays with you.
What are the messages that you got from being called a black substance?
At the time, or are you talking now?
At the time, even now, as you hear black substance,
In my mind, the black substance came from something dark.
yeah, what is the message?
It meant that I wasn't good enough.
Ah, see?
It meant that I wasn't good enough.
Mm.
And so
So what did it make you believe about yourself?
that I wasn't good. That I wasn't, that the world didn't see me as beautiful.
Mm.
Right? And I think perhaps maybe it manifests in its different form.
Mm.
Because then you end up sort of overcompensating certain things. Where you would want to say, you know what, my son's teacher was standard 2 or standard 3 said kuti black substance. Look at me now.
Man, black substance.
Right?
Mm.
So it says a lot about that wound that you're talking about.
What is the impact? How did this black substance impact how you show up in the world?
I think at first you get to a point of being reserved, right? You get to a point of being a shadow of others. And then as you grow up, when you start finding yourself, something happens within you.
And now you are speaking to being reserved and being here.
Yeah? Yeah?
You see what the wound does? It's either you are reserved, you are you are just easy, or you charge. Both ways you are acting, both sides you are acting from the wound.
So when you're talking
the
about
magic
the
is here.
wound, Bongi, what is that wound that you're referring to? Because you know,
That's
a
the
lot of
wound that
people-
you are not good enough.
Yes.
It's that you are not good enough, you are black substance,
Yes.
and then you have coded in your head that you are not good enough. And because you have this wound and you are bullied as well, you'll find that you become a bully as well. You become a bully. You also make other people feel like they are not good enough. And self-sabotage happens like that. You have a team of people, maybe if you work with, you make them feel like that. They run away from you. Your business falls apart because business is not you. Family will also run away from you. Relationships. Now you are self-sabotaging. And what happens? You're going back to that place where you are not good enough.
I get you. So
How are you feeling? Anyway.
you mean now?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I think from that, one learnt a lot. Because I look at myself now and I look at myself in the mirror and I tell myself, good is no matter what, you are good enough, sis.
I want you to get out of your head. I want you to feel. How are you feeling now?
Now, good. Now, good. Now, content. There might be some other things. Life throws its own challenges, and they life without problems sometimes better simple.
And the truth is, I mean, we need to know this piece about ourselves.
Sure.
As a country.
Sure.
As a people.
Sure.
To know that those parts of us that are hidden, that are suppressed, that are denied, to understand how it shapes your world, how it colors your world. In these few questions that I've asked, I'm sure you are reflecting deep. And we need to afford South Africa and many people the opportunity to understand that part of them that they don't know. People get married and be in relationships, be in business without this understanding. And then you find your life doing this thing that I've showed you now. I call it a snake and ladder. You have a snake and ladder game where you play. When you are about to go to 100, you hit that big snake, it kicks you out. It's not kicking you in the game because you don't know your wound. You don't know your wound. You have a business that is not succeeding. You have relationships that are not succeeding. You are fighting with your family. You are fighting with your kids if you have your kids because of this little girl. This black what?
Substance.
Black substance. So you must work with black substance. In many of South Africans who are self-sabotaging. Who are their black substance? Because someone is looking at you now and saying black substance. What is the name that whoever that is watching this episode, what have they been called that has shaped their lives to date?
Sure.
They are working like slaves to date. They are abusing their wives, their husbands to date. Yes. So that is the question.
So in wrapping up our discussion,
Yeah.
Boom. Because for some reason, I can go the whole day talking about this thing because it just makes you to really think. People that are in that state of that destructive behavior, but some of them are not aware. Where do you start in being able to, or some of them are aware, where do you start now in saying that I take a conscious decision to move away from the state that I am to a state of betterment?
I think nature has its way of making you do the work. Someone will die in your family, you'll get divorced, your business will fall apart if you're not going to do it because you are listening to this conversation. A big event will happen in your life that will make you want to do the work. If this conversation is not making a difference to you there.
Sure.
If it's not making a difference, a big event is you're gonna be raped. You're gonna be bullied again at work. You're gonna lose. You're gonna be bankrupt until for you to make the decision to do the work. And we don't want it to happen like that. We don't want big events because big events sometimes will leave you in bankruptcy. Like as I say, it's big traumatic events. We hope these kind of conversations will make it easy for people to make decisions to say, I want to do the work. Let me go see Bogila. Let me go be part of the circle. And let's do the work.
You've heard it from Bongi, providing an insight with regards to indicating that it starts from within you to actually do the work. We are all wounded in our own ways, in our own corners. We don't have a way of being able to move away from that. And this conversation is a start of many conversations to come that would make you to unleash your fullest potential, as he says. And thank you for joining us in this episode. Please share, please click, please like, and those that haven't subscribed, please do so. Because this forum for Marginalised aims to improve those that they feel that they are not worth. You are recognized. Believe in yourself. Thank you for joining us.